Support for the Bittersweet Life comes from Safety Wing. They are a fully remote team building a global safety net for digital nomads and travelers worldwide. Their Nomad insurance is a great solution for anyone living or traveling outside of their home country. You can use it as a subscription, and it even covers visits home. Find more information or sign up by clicking the link in our show notes.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Parks, and this is A Bittersweet Moment with Katy Sewell.
Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katy Sewell, and this is your midweek Bittersweet Moment. Now, last Thursday, Tiffany shared with you what her life was like in the early days of moving to Rome 17 years ago, a move she made intending to stay. Well, today I thought it would be interesting if I shared with you what it was like in my first days of moving to Rome as a temporary expat, knowing that I wasn't going to be there for more than a year. This is back in 2013. It was my first time living abroad. It was my first time unemployed after a decade of working really hard at National Public Radio. I was completely unfamiliar with the Italian language. And when I first arrived, I was living in a temporary apartment. It was just one room, a studio, a big bed in the middle of it, a small table, a little back window, and a kitchen that was built into a narrow hallway. Its location was amazing. The apartment was right around the corner from Piazza Navona, but it couldn't have been a more uncomfortable place to live. And in those early days of writing and trying to sort out what I'm doing here, who I'm going to be here, when I look back at that very first journal, I was basically just writing about 3 pages a day, every single day. It was part of a program that I was doing at the time called The Artist's Way. It's a book, and it's this series of exercises that's supposed to help you recover your artistic side after some of it has been lost. And I had felt that part of my artistry, the artist that I wanted to be, had been sort of lost in the day-to-day grind of needing to create radio programs every single day. And I was hoping that in the process of going through this book and having the time to do it while I was living in Rome, that I would rediscover the things that really draw me artistically, the things that I have never had a chance to express. But part of the process was that you're supposed to keep a journal where you just write at least 3 pages a day, every day, of all of the garbage that you're feeling. And let me tell you, there is a lot of garbage in these early days of living in Rome. It almost gave me a headache, actually, to read back through some of it. But I thought I'd read you a little bit and just share some highlights that I pointed out. Maybe it will be helpful. I'm writing things like, I'm bored sometimes. This apartment feels stifling. I'm missing nature. I'm looking forward to getting to know the city more so I can find more natural places within it. And I have a real desire to find an apartment that feels more like me. I'm writing things like, I woke up at 5 a.m., feeling uncomfortable in my surroundings, feeling a wandering of the mind and spirit, and not liking it one bit, but also not sure what to do about it. The only concrete notion I have is that I want the night to be over. Anyway, that is a fine illustration of how this is not the best writing, and nor did I ever think I would be sharing it with anybody. But that's what I'll do for you. So I'm just going to share a few little tiny parts from this very beginning, September 14th, 2013, which would have been very early days, probably just arrived. I write, we just got here, so very little feels settled. Already my old life is fading, but I'm not sure what I have bought instead. Will this make me wiser? I'm not sure who I am artistically without any kind of routine. I'm ready to start growing, but I'm afraid I'll be too silent in a foreign country, that I won't be able to find my way here. And the next day, September 15th. Those of you who listen to the show for quite some time, you know that I moved to Rome with Derek, but Derek was in an education program in Rome, and I don't have any structure. So I am struggling in these early days to find my way and to figure out what I'm going to do with my time. You'd think in Rome that would be easy, but for me, it was a lot harder than I expected. And I write, I'm experiencing moments of boredom when I feel like I should be feeling nothing but freedom. The apartment seems stifling to me, but that could easily be these early days of uncertainty, discomfort, and confusion. September 16th, still uneasy. I'm writing about the sense of home and how it feels lost, but how it sort of felt lost before I even arrived in Rome. There is always more searching, I write. Flash forward now to September 19th, 1 week in Rome. It feels longer, I write, though no memory stands out from one day to the next. It's just flashes, good things mixed with uncertainty. But we are barely through the threshold of this adventure and all the potential it brings. I want to find myself capable of many things I wasn't before. Too often I have thought to myself, I have nothing to offer people here. And even later, once we're into October, I'm still trying to adapt. I'm still trying to feel grateful for this opportunity. I'm writing things like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. You're living in Rome! Exclamation point. Exclamation point, exclamation point. But you know what? In going through this journal, and going faster and faster through it, because I'm like, oh, I'm sick of myself, at this point. You're just like, oh, get through these pages, my goodness. Start to the part where you start adapting. And you know what? About a month or so in, I am starting to get my footing. The writing stops complaining so much. We finally find an apartment in Trastevere, right up the block from Tiffany, which took far longer than either of us expected. I think we thought we'd be in the temporary house a week or two, maybe a month tops, and it ended up being a much more complicated thing to get out of than that. But in thinking back over that year and reading about these early days, and I was just so troubled about what I was going to make of myself there and how I was ever going to get along without being able to speak the language, it was a more silent year for me. It was probably more silent than all the years I had lived prior. I spent days and days and days in Rome alone. And I start to know my way around, and I even start to understand some words, but I never really do get a real grasp of the language, and that does make me outside of society. There are things that I just cannot do alone. Like shopping for anything beyond groceries seems so difficult and daunting that by the time I leave to return home to the United States, the clothes I brought with me are in actual tatters by the year's end. But it's interesting, even glancing back at this early notebook, I can feel all of that discomfort. I can remember that feeling so vividly. And part of that discomfort that I felt, that I can still feel when I think about that period of time, will always be overlaid on Rome for me. It will always be a city of great discovery and of beauty and of learning, and the start of a new path for me, the next chapter in life, and certainly the start of this show. But it will always be the city where I became unmoored, where I lost sight of the shore, and I had to find my way again. And so I don't think I will ever experience it only as the wonder that it is when you first see it. And if you've been there, you know the wonder that it is to see Rome for the first time. But I will also always see it as a place that, for a time, was very, very uncomfortable. And I think that's so fascinating about the different places we've been and lived in the world, is that they aren't one thing. They are all of the memories of how you felt at different times and who you came to be there, for better or for worse. This has been your midweek Bittersweet Moments. If you have reflections that are along these lines, I feel like I want to burn this notebook, but I will resist the temptation for now. But if you have any reflections along this line of your early days, I would love to hear it. Feel free to send us an email, bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com. That's bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com. You can also contact us through our website, thebittersweetlife.net. And until next week, I'm Katy Sewell.
Thanks to Safety Wing for sponsoring this program. If you're traveling or living abroad, check out their Nomad Insurance. It's travel insurance that you can use as a subscription, just like Netflix. They are creating products specifically for digital nomads and remote workers, along with building a country on the internet. Check them out by clicking the link in our show notes.